How's it going, my peeps? So, TNA Sacrifice pay-per-view just ended. So what that means is it is time for another pay-per-view review. I'll give you guys the full results and tell you what I thought about the show. So the show started off with Earl Hebner and Roode backstage, where Hebner tells Roode, hey, I need the championship so I can hang it on top of the ring for the main event tonight. And after a bit of yelling, Roode finally gives his championship to Earl Hebner and tells him that it doesn't matter because at the end of the night, he's going to take that championship back. So, afterwards, the show kicks off officially. Well, yeah, it officially kicked off with that opener, but anyways. First matchup, it's the Tag Team Championship match. Daniels, Kazarian, and Magnus and Joe. And it's a good match, actually. The match starts off with Magnus and Joe dominating for a good while. Both Kaz and Daniels, well, first it was Daniels and then Kaz. The match turns around, though, when I think Daniels was on the outside of the ring and he grabbed Magnus's foot. So Magnus slips and then Kazarian takes advantage of that. And from then on, Daniels and, Kazarian have the advantage for most of the matchup. Now, this match, though, at some point I thought it was the end of the match. When Joe hits the enziguri on Daniels, I think. Yeah, pretty sure it was Daniels. He hits it on Daniels. And then, he hits the snapmare. Magnus hits the elbow drop on Daniels. 1, 2, but actually Kazarian pulls Magnus from Daniels to break the pinfall, and then a few seconds later Magnus gets back in the ring and it looks like he's going for some sort of DDT on Daniels, but then Kazarian, who's taken out Samoa Joe now outside the ring, comes back in the ring, hits a chop block on Magnus, then right away Daniels comes back with a clothesline on Magnus. So high and low, the same type of finisher Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch used to use. So they go for the pinfall actually right after that, and they win the match with that. So your new tag team champions, Daniels and Kazarian. And you know what? I actually made the mistake in my prediction game video, and I said that I was pretty sure that Joe and Magnus were gonna win, and that was like one of the easiest matches for me to predict on this card. Well, hey, boy, was I wrong. The total opposite happened. They didn't even retain the titles, Daniels and Kazarian, your new TNA Tag Team Champions. And then right after you had Tessmacher versus Gail Kim Knockouts Championship. And, right in the beginning of the match, early on, like in the past couple of weeks on Impact, Tessmacher went for Gail Kim's finisher the first time early on, and Gail Kim rolls out the ring. Then she goes, and attempts Gail Kim's finisher once again, still early on in the matchup, but this time Gail Kim kind of reverses and then gets out of the ring. And then, towards the end of the matchup, Gail Kim goes for a finisher, eat the feet, herself, but Tessmacher reverses, and Tessmacher hits, Gail Kim's finisher finally, and then goes for the pinfall, but Gail Kim kicks out. Finish comes where Gail Kim reverses one of Tessmacher's moves and then goes for a roll-up and puts her feet on the ropes, actually the top rope, and gets the pinfall that way. So she wins the cheap way. Gail Kim retains, and that was expected. So Gail Kim's still your Knockouts champion. Right after, you had Jeremy Borash backstage. She had an interview with the new tag team champions, Daniels and Kazarian. Nothing much with the interview, nothing special. They're basically talking about AJ and how it's not over with them and AJ. So after that interview, you have the TV Championship, so that's 3 championship matches in a row. I think Robbie and Rob Terry come out first to Robbie's theme song. Well, they both come out in the same entrance, and this time, how they usually have, the same colored sweaters, V-neck sweaters. This time, Robbie had a white V-neck sweater, while I think Robbie T had a blue one or something. So yeah, kind of a different thing here. Anyways. Devon comes out, they start the match, match starts off kind of like a handicap match. Well, actually, the whole time it was kind of like a handicap match. They both went for Devon at some point, early on in the matchup. Devon takes Robbie T out of the ring, so he focuses on Robbie E, but then at some point, Robbie T obviously comes back in the ring. And in the matchup, at several points, Robbie E, would go for pinfalls on Devon, and Robbie T, was up. Robbie T wasn't down or anything, and he'd just look on, and he wouldn't interrupt the pinfalls, unlike, unlike most three-way matches where there's two guys that are like friends or tag team partners, and usually see them break up the pinfalls, just because they want the pinfall, where Robbie T, Rob Terry didn't care. He just, watched on as Robbie would go for pinfalls. And then, towards the end, Robbie E was actually outside the ring, and Robbie T was inside the ring. He hits his power slam on Devon, goes for the pinfall, but Robbie gets in the ring and pushes the referee, so the referee stops the count. So Robbie stopped the count for Robbie T, who was probably going to win there. So yeah, it's not exactly the same. Robbie E doesn't want Robbie T to win the championship. Robbie T, he doesn't care if Robbie E wins. And then Robbie T was kind of pissed, and because of that, there was a slight distraction there where Robbie T and Robbie were arguing. Well, actually, just Robbie was talking to Robbie T. Robbie T not talking much, but just staring at him. So then Devon takes advantage of that, pushes Robbie T on Robbie E. Man, I'm saying a lot of Robbies here. I mean, they're both called Robbie. Anyways, he pushes Robbie T onto Robbie E and then rolls up Robbie T and gets the pinfall and retains his TV championship match. TV championship, not the match. He doesn't retain the match. That doesn't make any sense. And here, after the match, there's an interesting part there. You see Robbie kind of complaining that he lost. And then behind him, you have Rob Terry just looking on and crossing his arms and just looking on at Robbie E. And then Robbie turns around and he's like, oh, Robbie T has this like mad face. He looks like he's mad. He looks like he's pissed. So Robbie E goes for a hug. He actually hugs Robbie T. And for a slight moment, it seems like Robbie T's going to turn on him or, get revenge for breaking the pinfall, I guess, or something like that. But no, actually, Robbie T laughs it off, and that's basically it. There's no Robbie T turning on Robbie E or E turning on T. You know what? I'm just gonna refer them as E and T from now on, not Robbie T and Robbie E. That's just too much Robbies. I'm pretty sure I've said Robbie like, I don't know, 30 times right now. I don't know. In the comment section, try and count all the Robbies I said. Anyways, let's move on here. Enough about the Robbies. See, I just said another Robbie. Anyways, then you had Anderson versus Jeff Hardy. That match, I was expecting a better match. It was a bit slow. For most of the matchup, Anderson was working on Jeff's arm, and I don't know, the match just didn't do it for me. It wasn't very entertaining. It was pretty slow. For a Jeff Hardy match, that was slow. I guess Jeff and Anderson maybe don't mix well together. Definitely not on the level of Jeff and Angle. Definitely not. Anyways, at some point you actually had Anderson going for Jeff's finisher, the Twist of Fate, and he actually hits it. And then he goes for a swanton, actually. And he doesn't hit it. Well, he hits the swanton, but Jeff puts his knees up. So, it's kind of a counter. And then Jeff goes for a swanton himself, hits it, goes for the pinfall, but Anderson kicks out. And by the way, I did say Anderson went for a Twist of Fate. So that's like two guys now on this same pay-per-view copying their opponent's finisher, going for their opponent's finisher. That's two guys, and there's still more. So, anyways, Anderson kicks out, and then I'm gonna skip to the finish here. I don't want to go into too much detail and just have this review last a freaking long time. So, the end just looked botched to me. Anderson went for a roll up, and the referee was counting 1, 2. And then when he hit 3, it seemed like Jeff kicked out like a microsecond, like the very, very, very last second before the referee, counted that 3. But the referee counted that 3 and declared Anderson the winner. Now I don't know if this was a botch or not, because it seemed like Jeff got his shoulders up before the 3 count. I mean, he did get him really late, get them up really late, but it still seemed like he got them up before the 3 counts. And once Anderson won, even he looked confused. It was like, what the hell? WTF? Did I seriously win? I don't know. It looked like there was some confusion there, and that the referee did, botch there. I don't know if the match was supposed to go on, if maybe Jeff was supposed to win. Actually, I don't think Jeff was supposed to win, but I don't know if that was supposed to be the finish. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know, but hey, I was right. Anderson wins. So yeah, Anderson won the match, and after the match, him and Jeff shake hands and hug, and they look at the replay a couple of times. The announcers, argue on whether or not Jeff kicked out, and yeah. And then you had an interview backstage, Christy Hemme with Aries. She asks if he's intimidated by Bully Ray. He says he's not, and he says Bully thinks, bigger is better, but actually better is better. Kind of like Mark Henry's bigger isn't better, but better is better. Is that what Mark Henry used to say? I don't know. Just recently, stronger is better. I don't remember. But anyways, he cuts a pretty good interview. And he says he's going to, lift Bully Ray up and drop him on his head, basically referring to his brainbuster finisher. And then in the crowd, you see Joseph Park. They talk about him in Abyss. He says he's gonna be enjoying this, watching the crowd as Austin Aries kicks Bully Ray's ass. And afterwards, you actually had Crimson coming out. He, issued an open challenge saying he's undefeated, blah, blah, blah. He tells anybody to come answer his challenge. And he tells the referee, he brings out a referee, and he tells the referee, start counting to 10. And if you count to 10 and nobody, comes out, then I'm declared the winner by default. Kind of like what he did, on Impact this past week. So he does that, and like at the count of 9, Eric Young comes out with ODB, and there's a match between Eric Young and Crimson. It was a fun little match between Eric Young and Crimson, and actually in the end, Crimson wins with his spinebuster finisher. And actually, it was a pretty back and forth match, so it wasn't one-sided or anything like that. And afterwards, you had, Jeremy Borash again with Bully Ray backstage, interview with him. And I thought, Bully Ray's a pretty funny guy. When he wants to be funny, he can, say some funny things. Anyways, he asks him some Twitter question. Some fan asks, how are you going to compete against a faster, younger Austin Aries? And, Bully Ray talks about Twitter and how he's not on Twitter. And if you want to get in touch with him, he goes old school. You want to go to myspace.com/Calvzilla. I don't know is that a real MySpace? Someone should check it out. Actually, I'm gonna go check it out later, see if that's truly Bully Ray, if that MySpace actually exists, and if that MySpace was created just recently or a couple years back. I wonder. I'll see about that. And that's about it for the interview. Pretty cool interview. And he says Aries will not be able to hit the brainbuster on him because he's too weak or something like that, or it's too small. So then the match starts. Aries, Bully Ray, they both come out, and Aries is actually wearing trunks now instead of shorts. And throughout the match and during their entrances, the commentators are asking questions like, can Aries pick him up for the brainbuster and stuff like that. Anyways, man, the match was freaking great. This was one of the the best matches on the card tonight. I definitely enjoyed this match. Really good match. Definitely made up for Anderson versus Jeff, which I didn't like. And in the beginning of the match, Aries climbed up the turnbuckle, and he was going for, some move off the turnbuckle. And then Bully Ray kicks him off the turnbuckle, so, Austin Aries falls off the turnbuckle to the outside. And, when he's falling, it looks like he hits, the guardrail, back first and then falls. And then when he got up, he had all these purple, marks on his back. Looks like he really hurt himself, on that fall. He gets back in the ring, and from that point on, Bully Ray was dominating the whole freaking match. And actually, Bully Ray pulled off a freaking cool maneuver here. He pulled off a military press into a cutter, into not an RKO, but a cutter, and that was pretty cool. So that's a Team 3D's 3D finisher. Instead, it's a one-man 3D finisher. He didn't need Devon to pull that off. It was pretty cool. Kind of like, Antonio Cesaro's military press into an uppercut, but instead it was, an RKO. So that was cool. And, actually, Joseph Park at some point got involved in the match. Well, I think it was close when... Oh, yeah. Bully Ray had hit his finisher, I think, or something like. Oh no, it was right after that cutter move. He hit that cutter move. Austin Aries kicked out. So Bully Ray got mad. He pulls out his chain, and then Joseph Parker was in the crowd. Now moves up in front of the crowd, and like starts making some noise. Bully Ray gets out of the ring, pulls him out of the crowd, and gets a steel chair like he's about to hit him with it. And he's outside, so that gives Austin Aries time to recover. Austin Aries hits a suicide dive on Bully Ray, on the outside. Puts Bully Ray back in the ring, hits his missile dropkick, in the turnbuckle in the corner, and then hits the brainbuster. Actually, gets Bully Ray up for the brainbuster. So that was impressive. But after all this talk by the announcers and the interviews, where they were saying, can he lift him up for the brainbuster? I was pretty sure that he was gonna pull it off. After all this talk, I was sure that he was gonna at least attempt the brainbuster, but I was pretty sure he was going to land it too. But, it was impressive to see, to look at. So he hits the brainbuster, goes for a pinfall, but Ray actually kicks out. And right after he kicks out, he goes for a powerbomb on Austin Aries. Austin Aries kind of reverses it into a facebuster, and then goes for his, submission finisher. I think Mike TNA referred to the finisher as the Last Chancery, so that's the name of the finisher. Goes to the submission finisher right away. Bully Ray taps right away. And Austin Aries wins the match. Joseph Park claps on the outside of the ring. And that was a freaking great match, guys. Awesome match. Really liked it. And then you had Borash with AJ backstage. And he was talking about Kurt Angle and that if he's not 100% focused, he has no chance. He's going to lose, blah, blah, blah. And he has to be focused. And Borash asks, tries to get AJ to talk about the pictures. And AJ says he doesn't have time for that or something like that. Anyways, Angle versus AJ. That was a great match too. Both this match and Austin Aries versus Bully were great matches. Austin Aries versus Bully was about, I'd say, 15 minutes. I don't know the exact time. That's my estimate, 15 minutes. And then Kurt Angle versus AJ was more like 25 minutes. So, a pretty long match, but a good match. Both guys going for their finishers a bunch of times. I think they landed their finishers maybe twice each, or maybe Angle hit it twice. Anyways, actually Angle, during this match, hit the Styles Clash. So that's 3 guys in the same night hitting their opponent's finishers. I don't know, why does TNA like to do that so much, guys imitating or copying their opponent's finishers in matches. I don't know. But anyways, the end comes were actually a cool spot in the match. I forgot to say this. Angle and AJ were outside. Angle goes for a German suplex, and when he hits that German suplex, AJ kind of does a backflip and actually lands on his feet. So that was a pretty cool counter to the German suplex, or recovery or whatever. And they pulled out all the stops. Moonsault, Hurricane Rana, which Angle countered into the Styles Clash, which AJ kicked out of, ankle lock, Angle slam, everything, and the end comes, towards the end, Daniels, Kazarian interfere, and cause a distraction, so that allows Angle to hit the Angle slam. Angle goes for the cover, AJ Styles kicks out, so right after, Angle goes for the ankle lock, and AJ taps out. So Angle wins the match. Right after the match ends, Daniels and Kazarian get in the ring, starts attacking AJ Styles, and Angle saves AJ Styles and beats up both Kaz and Daniels, run away. So Angle is now a face. He saves AJ Styles, so he's got his back now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a tag team match like Angle and AJ versus, Daniels and Kazarian, maybe for the tag team championships. I don't know, or a non-title match. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure, Samoa Joe and Magnus would be entitled to a rematch. So I don't know if that match is going to happen. Anyways, who cares? Anyways, let's move on. Backstage, again, Borash. It seems like after every single match, you have Borash in an interview. So Borash was interviewing Roode, and Roode says, in 10 days, he's going to be the longest reigning champion of all time. At least, longest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And that's basically it. That's, the important part of the interview. Anyways, match starts up, RVD, Roode, they make their entrance. and this was a great match as well. So all, the last 3 matches on the card were freaking great. Austin Aries, Bully Ray, AJ, Angle, and this match, Bobby Roode and RVD. They really, used the ladders. It's a ladder match, and they, really used the ladders in so many ways. You had a spine buster on the ladder. You had RVD hitting a moonsault while Roode was laying on the ladder. You had RVD, hitting the Rolling Thunder while Roode was, laying on the ladder. You just had so much stuff using the ladder. So many spots. It was a good match, man. It was a fun match to watch. Great ladder match between the two. Actually, at some point, RVD went for the 5-star frog splash while Roode was laying on, the ladder. But Roode, rolled out the way, and RVD hit the ladder with his, with his gut. And then here's the end, though. Again, you had Roode on. There's actually 2 ladders in the ring. There's one set up, under the championship, and Roode's climbing up. He's up, and RVD climbs up the turnbuckle, jumps on the ladder on the other side, but it looks like he botches it, or the ladder's like too weak or something. Anyways, the ladder like falls, and when it falls, RVD obviously also falls since, he was on top of the ladder. But when he falls, he has his leg like stuck between the steps. So, it looked pretty bad there. His leg was stuck on the ladder. So then Roode, I think he throws the ladder away, or just grabs the other ladder and puts it under the championship belt. And climbs up. And when he climbs up, RVD actually tries to stop him. I think he gives him a couple punches, but Roode kicks him off. And when he kicks him off, RVD falls back, his back of the head first onto a steel chair that's, in the ring. And then Roode climbs up, grabs his championship, and wins the match. So a pretty brutal ending there for RVD. I mean, his, falling down with his legs stuck, in the ladder steps, and then falling back of the head first on a steel chair, and then Roode grabs the belt, like I said, and wins the retains the championship. So that's it for the pay-per-view, guys. It was a good show. Match quality was pretty good. TV championship wasn't that great. It was a quick little match. Rob Terry, obviously limited ring skills, and really, the best matches on the card are the last 3 matches. Austin Aries versus Bully Ray, Angle versus AJ, and Bobby Roode versus Rob Van Dam. If I would give this pay-per-view a rating, I would probably give it 7.5 to 8 on 10. So it was a good show, actually. So that's about it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And with that said, I'm out, guys. See ya. Bye-bye.